My name is Adrian. I'll be leading this conversation. I have an agenda that I created here. Well, ChatGPT created. I did it a couple of times, so this one was pretty good. So we'll do introductions. We'll talk about defining mentoring, identifying mentoring goals, understanding different learning styles, establishing trust and rapport, giving constructive feedback, providing support and resources, fostering continuous learning, develop an action plan, and follow up. This is just a guide and something to keep the conversation going in case it gets dull. But with mentoring, I don't think that's really an issue because everybody has their input. So first thing, we'll go around and introduce ourselves. Just their name, or you could say whatever, but you could say like your name, where you work, what city, state you're in, and what yeah, that's good. So I'll start. My name is Adrian. I'm with Guided Surveying Inc. in Fresno, California. We have several offices throughout the state. And that was it, right? I forgot what I've already said. So we'll pass it off to Trent.
Trent Keenan, Las Vegas, Nevada.
All right, Kevin.
Kevin Hills, County Surveyor for Orange County, and I'm the president of CLSA.
Kind of lost it. Rodney.
Rodney Kelly, Etika Group, Director of Survey, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Joshua.
Josh Stice with Darwin Engineering. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts today.
I was going to say, look out window, see what state you're in.
I'm either in Chicago, Boston, Delaware, or Atlanta, where I live.
Cool. I know Nolan's driving, so if he wants to chime in, he can. If not, we'll wait a moment.
Nolan Mark, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Good job, man. You just forgot the company. That's it.
Oh, sorry.
On Mark Land Survey.
Rob, doing introductions.
Hey everybody, Rob McMillan, Yucca Valley, California.
Napa.
Oh, Yucca.
Oh, I thought they said Napa. Sorry.
Tasha, you're up.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tasha Hutta. I'm Bureau of Land Management, CFEDS, with BLM Training Coordinator, CFEDS Program Manager, residing in Anchorage, Alaska.
All right, Sean. If not, if you could chime in, we'll continue with Christopher.
Hey everyone, Christopher McDonald with Bureau of Land Management, residing in Phoenix, Arizona.
All right, welcome everybody. So as a roundtable discussion, we want to have everybody engage and give their input. So we'll start off with the defining mentoring. It's not well. Everybody could see the PDF, right?
Yeah. Yep, you're good.
Okay, cool. So obviously everybody kind of knows what a good mentor is. Speaking for myself, I haven't really had a mentor. I've had people like Rob that have influenced me and Trent over time, but I've never had a quote unquote mentor. But my biggest mentor is probably my wife, who's my biggest supporter. Couldn't do anything without her. But yeah, that's what I think about mentoring, right now. That's why I brought up this topic to Trent to start the idea conversation about mentor mentee. I've been trying to mentor my interns at our office. We don't work on the same types of work, But I try to engage with them and teach them things what I learn. Like if I learn something new, I try to teach them what they something the new what is it? New tool in their toolkit for the future. But you know, so that's where this is starting from. So if anybody has anything they want to add to this about define entry, go ahead and either raise your hand or turn off your mic, or turn on your mic.
I'd be curious on like you, Adrian, like I've never had really many mentors either. Mine was always just nose in the book and learning things, you know, self-study type stuff. People obviously helping, you know, with questions or comments along the way and that kind of stuff. But I wonder who, like, and I guess that maybe that's where things are changing, right? With the mentorship moving forward, where it's more of a one-on-one, or maybe, you know, bringing in the field staff on Friday afternoons or whatever and teaching them stuff. But physical, like mentor mentee, has anybody had that throughout their career, or is it more of the discussions like we're having now where it's just been some guidance along the way? Rodney, do you have like a full one-on-one mentor, or has it always just been kind of the same scenario?
My first almost 8 years, my first employer, he was my first mentor. When I was hired, he literally, when he interviewed me, he said, because I knew nothing of survey really. I mean, my cousin was a surveyor, but I didn't know what he really did. And he had worked for this gentleman previously, but I didn't know him in that capacity. I just knew him as a girl that I dated her dad when I was in high school. And he became a family friend. As I got older and when I was in college, I was kind of at a point where I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't want to stay in the business side of things at the time. So I went and worked for this gentleman. And when he interviewed me, he said, because my concern was I don't know anything about what I'm doing here. Like I was going into it fresh, but I'd give it a try. And he said, I'm here in my chair before 7 every morning, and I'm here, you know, after 5 every evening. And anytime you want to ask a question and want to come in and talk about the projects and do whatever, he said, I'll be there. And I don't remember a time that he wasn't. I mean, I came in early every day for the first year before anybody else, and we'd go over the projects, and he would walk through boundary surveys and farm cutouts and things. And when I got back, I would download the data or go over the data that I was going to download while he was getting ready to go upstairs and eat, because his office was in his basement at the time. And I'd stay there, and if he was down when I got done, he would sit with me and he would go over projects. And I had a 48GX calculator with a SIM card in it, SMI card in it, and he would show me how to do, you know, translation and rotations and things. And this is like my first month or two there. You know, I had a strong math background from school and whatnot, but I had no idea what I was doing as far as surveying. So he was just that type of guy, and I thank him every time I see him, you know, and give him a lot of praise, because he went into it offering it to me, whereas every company or position I've had since then, that hasn't been there. I've been that guy to be in that role, or I didn't have a person who would offer it. So
yep, that's cool. Yeah. And I mean, when I first got in the profession, I worked for a smaller firm. It was just, you know, me and 2 others, and so I think I had probably a little more mentorship back then. But again, I was 19 years old, so I probably didn't know the questions to ask either. So
sure,
just absorb it as much as you could at that point. But so.
Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was going to say, I just think it's kind of interesting because, you know, back in the 80s when I came in, went to college, came out, got into a small company, and I don't even know if I didn't even know what mentoring meant. I don't think at the time. I think it was just, you know, there was actually a surveyor that was in charge where I was at, and he did take the time and spent, you know, just the effort. I think it's just the time that he spent to kind of go over legal descriptions and, you know, what boundary analysis. And we had one of our main clients was Public Storage, and they were just buying, properties all over the place back when people were moving to California. And it was just, it was
Instead of moving out.
buying, yeah, it was crazy. It's kind of like like Nevada is today, right? Back in the 80s, California was just like, I came down here from Canada, moved here, and like I couldn't believe the amount of construction that was happening. I just, my mind was blown. Just everywhere you go, they were just new construction. But we were doing all these crazy jobs, and the stuff with Public Storage, they were buying all these just crappy remnant parcels from Caltrans and just pieces. They just weren't, but they're right by the freeways, and they're always had major title problems. So it was great for me, great experience. And he was a really good mentor because he had that I guess he had enough patience to help me through, guide me through some of these issues of what you're dealing with. And I think that was kind of the main thing, was just having the patience to help somebody out, and how do we pay it forward, for ourselves, and Trent, you do a really good job with Mentor Mondays. How do you take that to the next level with like Nevada or California? Like, how do we even put that into, our lexicon of, like what this is part of our job, right? And that's tough.
Trent, I think you're muted.
Yep, I am muted. Sorry. I think that the next level with that, Kevin, would be rolling it in with your leadership stuff that you're trying to put together for California. I think, it's almost a leadership mentorship modules, right? Like what you're trying to, they're going to kind of roll together, I think, in the same thing between the two, the mentorship and the leadership. It's really to somewhat the same thing, but not, right? So.
And we're trying to think, and maybe something that we'll have to talk through, and maybe this, with your research, Trent, is what we were thinking. Well, maybe when we renew our dues, we have a checkbox. Hey, are you available to be a mentor? Something like that. For CLSA. But what do you guys have anything like that in Nevada, or do you know anybody that's doing that? No, at the national level.
Nope.
Yeah, so thinking maybe it's something that we think about, just offering just simple checkbox. Hey, and again, what is it? What's the definition of it? What are we talking? A couple hours a week?
Yeah.
I mean, like for me here, my staff, I have an open door policy, and if somebody wants to talk and learn about stuff, I'm all open to do it. But a lot of people don't take advantage of that. And they may not even know. I may not be broadcasting it
right.
enough to understand that, for people to understand that.
There's some good models out there, like Eurissa, different organizations that have mentor, mentee, their cohorts, or I know at Fresno State, they had a mentorship for freshmen, and I signed up twice and I never heard anything. So I don't know if I failed or the school failed. So I know they tried it. I'm sure students did get mentored, but I never got a student, or it just didn't work out. So there's.
This is really interesting. Adrian, is maybe part of the, young surveyor network, or that kind of smaller group. Maybe that's kind of that connection, right? To kind of connect to, the mentors, and the mentees.
Yeah, definitely. Did anybody else have any that they wanted to add?
Just real quick, while you're doing that, I threw in the Eurissa mentoring program, and then the other one that I have a really good friend that's involved with is the ACE mentoring program, which is architectural, construction, and engineering mentorship stuff. And I've jokingly told him I needed to change it to ACES and add the S for surveying on there. But so that's another program we can look at least, like we say, trying to model something that we can come up with. But I threw both of those in the chat as well. So
I will say that Jacob Heck, the current president of YSN, he does recognize that mentoring is a big issue. And this year it's kind of one of his goals. It's not something that's ready to go out of the works. It's something we are currently working on and are discussing. So it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow, but it's on the radar.
You think it's between now and next spring meetings, but like during his presidency? Is that kind of the goal?
I don't. Well, the goal is to get through FIG, but
Yeah. Right. Well, that's we're good. That's 4 weeks away or whatever. So okay.
yeah. No, I mean it's taking it always one step at a time. Like it was student competition, then FIG, and I think by fall it'll be more of actual discussion, since it'll be everybody can actually sit down and do something for once besides just run around and help. So
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a discussion point in the fall.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think it's just got to come up with some kind of an overall kind of roadmap, I guess is some way to kind of put it together, right? And some benchmarks maybe that we would want out of it and that kind of stuff. And I think that's where we've been talking about the mentorship for the last few years. Obviously, the last probably 5 years plus has been more of a hot topic. And now it's just a matter of at least putting pen to paper and coming up with a whole model that we can use. And so I think there's, like you said, Adrian, there's lots of things out there that we can model off of. It's just somebody taking the time to put it together. And maybe with Jacob kind of taking the lead from the YSN side, that'd be awesome. And of course, his whole NGS staff and stuff that he's got. So he's got probably a lot of inner workings that he can bring to the program as well, just from his own, organization that he's working for. What about you, stuff within BLM, Tasha? What does your guys' mentorship obviously look like?
Yeah, so for the surveying program itself, we don't have a formalized program. Within the Bureau, there's a variety of programs that I've been a part of for various different levels. Let's see, from my experience, I've had many mentors, actually, some that were assigned as like, this is your mentor, and some that were very informal. Those informal ones are probably the best relationships. And the way I look towards mentoring is that for me, it's not a person. It's not, I want to emulate this person. It's more of like, oh, this person is really great at building relationships. This person is really great at communication. What can I learn from them? Mm-hmm. This person is really great at cutting through red tape and kind of figuring out processes. What can I learn from them? This person, technical. This person's really great technical, and how do I learn from them? Those are actually the harder ones. The really great technical ones are not always the best teachers. I've got so many surveyors I would love to be mentors, but it would be a crash and fail because that's just not their skill set. I do a lot of parallel to mentoring is coaching. I do a lot of leadership coaching and professional coaching within the Bureau and with the Forest Service also. And so those are kind of regimented programs. And then in Alaska here, they just reinvigorated their mentor-mentee program. So it's across the state. And so we're in our second round. The first round was successful, but still some learning, growing pains in there. So for the second round, one thing that we're doing different is I'm offering mentor support sessions. So for people who this is not their regular duties, they just happen to be really good at what they do and want to pay that forward to the next generation, but they don't really know how to mentor. We're working to offer them some support so that when they get to, a problem, they've got a peer group that might be able to offer them some mentorship and support as well. I've kind of been around it from all sides.
That's cool. But so I guess the very first one you said you had one assigned to you, was that through BLM?
That was through BLM. Yeah, it was a program in our past that was called the SCEP Mentor Program, and I had a mentor who was assigned to me. We went down to, we spent, it was a program, we spent a week in Phoenix. The mentor had to go through some certain, a lot of self-awareness kind of things, what box do you fit in so that you know how to relate to others.
Gotcha.
A lot of that stuff is a lot more common in our vocabulary now than it was 2 decades ago. The emotional intelligence piece, the, how do I communicate, kind of getting into your agenda piece here, the learning styles. And my mentor, I love him, very influential. I always say thank you, but one of those sessions, like, he came out and, because it's all bureau, not just surveyors. And so he came out and he said, well, he's like, I'm kind of a jerk, and I took his personality assessment and it said I'm a jerk. And so this is what you have, so it was a very realistic approach.
Yeah.
And I always adored that about him. But it's, you kind of have to know yourself to know what your strengths are so that you know how to best help people.
Got it. Yeah. And one of the other ones you talked about was the different styles and coaching and stuff like that. And I think that's where we really need to push the importance of networking, right? And that's networking within the association, your state associations, your chapters associations, the whole business to business relationships are more valuable almost than, just the college education. So that's one of the things I really think we need to really highlight when it comes to the mentorship program, as well as focusing in on so much of the networking side. So
yeah, it's exactly what we were talking about in our meeting last week, in our exec meeting on Friday, Trent, is how do we, Zoom is so convenient, right? Like right now, perfect, right? We can all kind of connect from all over the world, right? Or all over the location, but to really get that human connection, you need that face-to-face time, and Tasha, I'd be really interested, like the leadership coaching. Do you guys have formal information? Like, do you guys have formal, like, okay, here's what you guys do, or is it more just a ad hoc type of coaching?
So, yeah, the piece that I do that with is largely through Forest Service. I partner with Forest Service to have coach training for myself, and actually I'm starting a new training program for coaching really soon here if I wanted to go through and get my certification for being a coach. So it is the training for the coaches is formalized, and then the coaching program itself is let's see, I've got my sheet right here. So they have through the leadership courses, it's tied with leadership courses, students are assigned a coach with them, and then there are 6 sessions is the way it's set up right now. The first one is called a discovery and value session. And so coaches spend time learning about their client, discovering about them and learning their values. Values play such a huge, amazing part in who we are and how we get along with each other. And then the next one after that is a assessment, the OPM 360, which is a leadership assessment that all the leadership students go through. And so we look at the results of that report and use that to identify strengths and potential developmental areas. After that, the session is called learning goals. And that's where they look at all the information that we've had from the first 2 sessions, what it is within their job and their goals that they're trying to achieve, and look at where are the developmental areas and what is their plan that they would like to do to move on to the next steps. The 2 sessions after that are completely topic driven by the client, anything that they have. So these are coaching sessions, not mentor sessions. So mentoring would be a little bit different. The mentor program that I'm in within the Bureau, they're really working on emotional intelligence stuff. So it's very centered around, topics, self-awareness, soft skills, things like that. So it could be tailored to anything. So the client could be, I'm having a conflict, I'm really struggling with, you guys can fill in the blank. And then the last session is a closeout and transition. Where are you at now? How are you meeting your goals? What are the insights that you've had up until this point? Where would you like to go from here?
That's awesome. That's it. And how long is that program?
Depending on the leadership program, I think the middle leader program is about a 6-month or so program. And then the senior leadership program is a year-long program.
Nice. Yeah, I was thinking at least 6 months with the amount of topics you had there. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
What's
and
the-
then the mentor program that I'm a part of, it's really fast paced. It's only 4 months.
Okay.
What's the frequency of meetings for those programs?
It depends. Normally it's about every 4 to 6 weeks.
And there's actually a certification that you get. Is that something that you get at the end of the course, or is that actually certification prior to that?
So the courses that I'm coaching for are leadership courses, right? So that's separate than the coaching piece. The coaching piece is just to make sure that people are, bringing themselves and their own self-awareness and tailoring everything. We can sit all in the classroom together and we can all listen to the same information, but we all integrate it differently. And so that's what the coaching piece is. How does that integrate for you with your value set, with the conditions that you have, with the work that you're doing? And okay, sorry, I got down the list. What was the question? Certification. So
Yeah.
the certification is for the leadership class itself and not necessarily the coaching. So it's just for them completing their own learning class, the leadership development. For my coaching piece of it, that's separate. That's additional training that I've taken. I can become certified as a coach if that's something. And so like going on to that with the mentorship piece, like to me, that's where I see, I only bring that up because that's where I see a lot of our attempts. I can only speak from my federal perspective. I see a lot of our attempts fail because we have this really great idea and it's so wonderful, but we never support the mentors. We're like, you're smart, you really know what you're doing. You should go mentor these 2 people or these, sometimes these 10 people. But we don't teach them what they should be doing. And then it just turns into something that it was, never quite envisioned to be and has bad feedback, and then we don't do it again.
That's really interesting. I
Good
hadn't heard of
intentions.
that. I hadn't heard of a certification for a leadership coach. That's very interesting.
I do know there's tons of kind of like life coaching type stuff that's out there. And it sounds like it's probably modeling something similar to that as well. But yeah.
That makes so much
Yeah.
sense, doesn't it? To have actually something to kind of follow versus, come on over. We'll shoot the, I'll show you this stuff. And then, after a while, it's like, oh, here he comes. It's like, oh, here he comes again. I'm right in the middle of a project.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
And
really good.
I think that goes into one of those initial questions, what kind of mentoring have you been exposed to? And I bet you can think of formalized and informalized that you've been exposed to, which were the great relationships and which ones just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, I've seen it fail just because they guys just got paired with the wrong person. They're still 2 wonderful people, but the pairing of those 2 is not going to equal success.
That's really that's
Personality conflicts will get in the way every time. Yeah. Or just learning abilities the way somebody teaches too sometimes. Yeah.
What do you think, guys? Like when our first party chiefs, was that always like our best experience? Probably not. Just get it done. Come on, don't ask any questions. Come on, get that done. Don't ask those questions.
I have a story about something like that. So I had questioned somebody GPS methods when it first came out in the late 90s, and I questioned him and basically told him he was wrong. One of my chiefs told him he was wrong. I got thrown out of the truck and sat on the side of the road for the next 6 hours. Good thing I had my lunchbox, so and a chair. But
mentoring, Trent.
Yeah, that's my form of mentoring. Yes. So
sideline Trent. Sideline Trent.
That's it. So that's awesome. That's good stuff, Tasha. Josh, you've worked for some fairly good sized firms. What kind of like mentorship stuff that's on some of the firms that you've worked with? Anything? I was like Atwell or something like that, right? Like it's
at Atwell, when you got hired, a mentor was assigned. which generally was somebody that didn't know they were assigned to you and had no will or desire to have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
I started with the survey group to make it simple, whatever they wanted. If they wanted work-life balance, not that I'm a role model for that, but I know all the mistakes I make and continue to make, and I tell them not to be me. But I let them kind of pick the topics. I learned early on, would have written things, we would do oral things, and then we would do things in the field hands-on, just because everybody's different and learns different. And I tried to ingrain in them that there's traditional survey stuff that never ever changes, but how you get from A to B could be 57 different ways. And don't get hung up on my way of doing it because I'm 30 years in and stubborn as hell. And we can still get to the end solution regardless. There's no real right or wrong as long as it's correct. So as Atwell, like I said, they had a good theory, but it didn't really take. Where I'm at now, I think I'm redoing what I did at Atwell where I'm at now. That's why I'm in Boston. Is I'm working with the crews up here just to kind of get over the management sucks, you're all mean and you don't know how to do field work mentality, where they see me in the field and they're like, oh damn. I'm like, yeah, we're all kind of like that. You're catching people on a bad day. And I go, it's not good as a manager that we have bad days and they see it, but it happens. So I can't really, I mean, my mentors were when I first started, they were the alcoholic party chiefs that you picked up at the bar in the mornings. I rode in the back of a van with no back seat until they felt I was worthy, and then they gave me a bucket. If things weren't in the van when we got to the job site, I may not get back to the office.
Yep.
But they pushed math, doing Kogo, they pushed a lot of stuff on me. And when they were comfortable that I wasn't going to leave, then it's like, oh, you can set the gun up, just don't touch it. They kind of progress you through the steps of learning what the heck you were doing before they threw you out there to do anything, which I miss. We really went a completely different direction as a profession with, unfortunately, with technology and going to one-man crews and everything else. A lot of firms have missed the concept that we need to train our replacements. And we're not doing a very good job of it.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah, I'd like to trail that up with, that's one of, honestly, the most, one of the biggest conundrums I find about our profession. We are absolutely adaptable, right?
Yeah.
We change with everything, except we also have these very deep ingrained types of things, like that mentality of, oh, you get left on the side of the road, or you can't, you don't have even a seat to sit in, right? That doesn't fly these days.
No.
Yep.
We are absolutely one of the most adaptable professions that exist in the world today, but we can't get out of our own way sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that attitude's changing, and I think we're getting there, but it's, like anything, it's a 10, 15, 20 year, almost generational type changes that we have to kind of ride through. It's the ones that all of us put up with all that on the back end of the career, or the front end of the career, that we're not going to do on the back end of the career.
Yep.
And so I think we're slowly getting there, but it's still, and as adaptable as we are, surveyors are still extremely slow to adapting when it comes to, technology or certain things like that. Right. And so I think it is kind of crazy.
Well, the interesting thing is it's kind of right there, right? Like that proves our stubbornness. Like if we're gonna, take that kind of abuse and just keep working, right? Okay, whatever. I get thrown out of the truck, oh, whatever. I'm gonna find my way through.
Mhm.
I'll get back at you, this way. I'm gonna keep working, right? So that's our kind of our stubbornness. But
Mhm.
yeah, but I think it is making. I think things are changing. It's just gonna take time for sure. It's slow, and these kind of meetings and these kind of groups, I think this is how we change it, right? Just getting the attitudes and just, you know,
Yep.
getting that information out there that, there is a different approach, different way.
So go ahead.
I was gonna say, how do we get that to paper now? How do we get it to paper and implemented?
Small steps.
That's
Baby
right. It is.
steps.
It's
Sounds
all
like-
baby steps. Yep.
Like Tasha has a lot of it already kind of
I know.
documented. Sounds like we could kind of, bracket off of what
Incorporate it.
she's got.
So like for topic 3, identifying mentoring goals. If you could read it on your own if you want. So for that one, for myself, I had tried to get a raise at a company, and I was denied because I lacked certain skills. So my boss at the time, Kent Poitras, he took the time, and we had like bi-weekly lunch sessions where he would show me different things about legal descriptions because that's where I was lacking. So he took the time to show me like, oh, the different clauses, different aspects of a legal description. So it's for that particular example, that was how he helped me as a mentee situation. So it requires people to be willing to take the time to go out of their way to help people. Because I reached out to an older gentleman, and he was like, "No, I'm not interested." And like I tried because I know he has a lot of knowledge, but you gotta just, hey, you're interested, and they're like, "No." Then you just move on, and that's my I think my life motto is persistence. I don't ever give up, no matter how many times I fail. Just keep moving forward and pushing your way through, whether it could be good or bad. It's a two-edged sword, but that's it. I don't know if anybody else has similar stories or ideas, suggestions relating to that topic.
I think the one thing to jump back to number 2 is to me, the biggest thing to be a mentor is be available.
Mhm.
You can have all the knowledge and communication skills and approachability, but if you're not present and available, it doesn't do any good. And that's what I think we find with some of, like you mentioned, with the older man. He just, no. And it's making sure you're available, that the people your mentees know that they can call you, they can walk up and talk to you, and it's okay.
And I think, to that point, it's because we have one of the guys here, even, whether you're department manager, survey manager, whatever, or, mentor type situation, we're all super busy. And so when those phone calls come in with a question, right, it's not being so chirpy or, huffy
Yep.
puffy when they're asking you a question. And I think that's part of it as well, too. Finding ways to take a deep breath and just, it's only,
Yeah.
give them your attention for 5 minutes, right? It's probably going to be a simple question that they need help with, but
Yeah.
taking that.
Listen to the question, and when it's the same question you answer 17 times, then you can get huffy.
Right.
That's why I told my crews, I want you to screw up every day because I know you're trying,
Mhm.
but don't screw up the same way twice.
Mhm.
And they really took it to heart because they made my life miserable, but they also grew in their, I can honestly say everybody I've worked with or trained in 30 years is still active.
Yeah.
They unfortunately still call me sometimes, but that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the learning of this younger generation too, where things you do have to repeat things. Not everybody learns the same speed, and definitely nowadays it's definitely not that. So.
Or the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which we talked about earlier. Yeah, yeah, everybody learns differently, right? Which is where that mentor mentee situation can come in. If somebody just doesn't gel, they're just not going to listen. It goes in one ear and out the other. So, yeah. What about so Rob, when you chimed in, what about Caltrans when it comes to kind of internal leadership and mentorship and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there are all kinds of programs. I was part of the statewide mentorship program where I was assigned somebody who was trying to move up, and just gave them a different way of looking at the whole bucket of what Caltrans is from a different perspective. And it was really actually did that twice with a couple of engineers. I had no idea who they were, never met them before, and pointed them in the right direction and helped them recognize where they could improve and where they could step up their game so that they would be, one of them in particular would be recognized as a viable contender for promotion. And then within District 11, San Diego and Imperial counties, we had a mentorship kind of a outreach event to our staff where the mentors were already kind of trained up through this pretty well laid out program. And
You muted yourself, Rob.
Yeah.
Still muted. Almost there.
muted myself because somebody sent me a chat and that muted me. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That's funny.
So yes, I know Keith Spencer, and I recruited Keith Spencer. So the District 11 pairing was basically each mentor was given about 30 seconds to say, hi, I'm Rob. I've been mentoring on the statewide program, and my expertise is helping somebody move up from one level to the next, or whatever your little 20-second pitch was. And you did this in this big roundtable room with, there were 30 mentors, and there were 35 or 40 or 50 potential mentees. And then those mentees all wrote the names down of the people they wanted to have as their mentors and turned them in, and then we got assigned. So it's really, it was really well laid out, and the gal who was in charge of running that mentoring program, she ran it for a couple of years and then retired, and I don't think they've resurrected the program. It was very structured, and they wanted the mentors and mentees to meet at certain times at least every 2 weeks. And this was I think this is about a 4-month process. And the mentees that I had were mostly Caltrans maintenance workers in District 11. And I just left it open and said, look, here's my office phone, here's my cell phone, here's where my office is. Stop by anytime, call my cell phone anytime, whatever works for you. Because, I remember the days being out in the field, where you don't want to go down in and sit in somebody's office after you've been cutting brush all day. And with the maintenance workers, a lot of times that's what those guys are doing. So, and part of the key to having the mentoring successful is figuring out, okay, what do you want? What is it that you need? And I'm going to mentor you in a specific thing, but it may lead to another thing, right? It could be that I'd go to I'd go to Adrian on how do I talk to politicians, and learn that one particular thing from Adrian, and go to Kevin Hills on, hey, can you help me out with this Chat GPT thing that we were talking about? Finding the mentor that has the specific skill set for what the mentee wants and needs is pretty critical. And also to be secure in yourself enough to say, a mentee comes to you and says, hey, can you help me understand this? And sometimes you go, nope, but I know somebody who can. And that's part of the sharing the mentoring load, but also expanding their network and showing them, how and why networking is so critical to advancement. I think I answered about 4 different questions and overstated everything. So
No, that was perfect. No, I love it.
Yeah, that's good.
What about just on the flip side, only because Kevin's obviously trying to put the program together, but what about leadership stuff, or, similar to the leadership coaching type stuff? Is there something similar program within Caltrans or no? Or was there?
Yeah, there are leadership academies, there are things like that Caltrans has. As far as the mentoring thing, I mentioned making the person really look like a more viable promotional candidate was really key to one of my mentees, who is an engineer, and we talked about it, and he said he debriefed after like 4 different promotional interviews where they hadn't selected him, and I said, what is your general work attire? What do you wear when you go into the office? And he goes, oh, just jeans and a t-shirt, So what are you wearing right now? He goes, oh, I got the Van Halen t-shirt and blue jeans or whatever. And I go, all right. And I said, let me find something and send it to you, and then we'll talk again. And what I sent him was a photo of Mission Control, NASA's Mission Control. And the entire room is guys in white dress shirts with black ties, except for one guy who's got on, looks like slacks and a t-shirt. And I sent him that in an email, and I circled that guy in a little red ellipse and said, do you know who this guy is? And he looked at it, and obviously it was a 40-year-old picture, so he had no clue. Then I sent him back a message, said, that's the janitor, right? Everybody else in mission control is wearing the dress shirt and the tie. And I said, you don't have to go crazy. Just step it up a level. Throw on some Dockers and a dress shirt and a tie. And maybe step it up where you just start out with dress shirts and no ties. And after a month, you change it out. And he thought about it, and he took my advice. And the next time he interviewed was about 6 months later, and he got promoted. So it was pretty interesting to see, you know, to let him in on the perception from external. You know, he's a good engineer, but they weren't taking him seriously. They were taking his engineering seriously, but not him. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Great perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll want to wrap this up. I think we're gonna have a part 2 because I want to dig into some deeper stuff in the
Cool.
next meeting.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But if anybody, because what I want to get into is more of the feedback of your employees. I know as myself, I'm a survey analyst, aka survey technician, and I see a lack of feedback from managers. So I want to get into that next time and just keep it at the hour. But if anybody has any final comments or ideas for the next meeting that you want to let us know about, like, you know, ideas like I said, I want to get in that. If you have something that we should all be thinking about for the next meeting, please share it now.
Yeah, I think that goes along with what Tasha was saying earlier, is about the emotional part of
Yeah.
the networking and the mentorship and that kind of stuff, right? And breaking down those barriers to be able to give somebody the accolades, right? That's something that's really never really happened in the profession as well either, right? All of those old timers, hence the get thrown out of the trucks or sit on the buckets and all that kind of stuff, right? So those conversations have never really happened, and I think those are what, like we talk about some of the changes that will be coming moving forward, where all of that stuff is a little more socially accepted and you know, allowed, not so much socially accepted, but at least now normal conversations that can happen on a daily basis. So
And I think, Trent, it's a learning process for all of
Yeah.
us, right?
oh yeah.
Like mentors and mentees, like,
Mhm.
okay, we want people, we don't, like what Joshua said, you know, just being assigned somebody that's probably, you know, not a good success story, because it's like, you know, they don't even know what they're doing, right? It's
Right.
like, you know, now I'm going to be tagging around with this guy, right?
Yeah.
So that's tough, because you want people that are curious too, right? You want somebody that is a curious, has, you know, I always kind of equate this to, like, I always love the analogy of Fight Club, you know. The first thing about Fight Club, you don't talk about fight. You get there by finding your way in, right? It's kind of like surveying. You find your way into surveying somehow. We all found our way here, you know, and it's kind of a unique, you know, career, right? But did you have a surveyor that kind of came in your life and told you about it? No, you found your way in, and
Mhm.
you were curious about it. And I think that's what we want to kind of have, that curiosity, and that's the person we want to have kind of step up through the leadership part and you know, become a good surveyor, you know, and you know. But I think I'd love to see what, you know, maybe in the next one is what Tasha's, you know, how their outline is, because that really is intriguing to me.
If you can, anything you can share, Tasha, that'd be awesome. We can kind of use it as models or whatever to build some of the stuff off here.
And I know
Yeah,
some of you get the CLSA e-news, and you know, over the last year and a half or more, been putting in a section called "In the News," where I've been scooping articles, scooping information out of LinkedIn, and I think I think Adrian's been featured in there, and other people from other companies. In fact, things that I found just on Google News back in New Hampshire or Virginia or whatever, where, Josh Stice got his LS and got promoted to this position. And, he previously worked at these roles at this company and that sort of thing. And, I was putting those in there to see if I would see any from California firms. And for the most part, the only things that I was getting were things of people announcing their own promotions on LinkedIn.
Right.
And it's like we're a bunch of idiots or something in the managerial levels, that we're not recognizing people. And Trent, what's the name of the kid that helped me out when I was over there with the videos? Is he your nephew or your cousin?
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, my nephew. Yeah, I forgot what you were talking about. Your airplane videos. Yes, that was my nephew.
So if he got his LSIT and you did some kind of thing that got into the NALS email that said, and congratulations to Eric or Chad or whatever the kid's name is, I'm drawing a blank, but at Diamondback Land Surveying, who got his LSIT and is now moved up into the role of blah blah blah, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. Well, anybody else that gets that, and they might not be an LSIT, they're just a technician. They're pounding hubs for the other guys across town, the big firm across town, and they go, "Oh, I remember that guy. We were in high school together or whatever." And I'm at least as smart as he is. And if he just moved up, that means there's a vacancy, right? And Diamondback is someplace where this guy got his LSIT and he's gotten promoted. So apparently they're looking after their staff there. But, nobody in California is that forward thinking, apparently, to see this, even though I laid it out there for them a couple of times. And then, having those listed as models, shown as models of how you can announce something.
Right.
Nice.
Yep.
Tasha, did you have something?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
No, I think I was just gonna confirm. I'll share whatever I have with you guys.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Sweet. Okay. I'll do a email with Kevin and Adrian and us, Tasha. Then you can share whatever we want, and then, or maybe everybody on this group tonight, and then we can kind of share some stuff around. So
yeah,
that'd be cool. Okay.
Hopefully everybody comes back for next time and we can dig deeper into more mentoring and with Kevin and know their leadership and try to, actually get something going. And it doesn't have to be, on paper or formal, but it could just be within your sphere of influence. Like I said, it's baby steps. You don't change the world by trying to take it all on. You just do what you can.
Yep. Exactly.
It's just one small step, right?
That's it.
Yep.
That's cool.
I've got this just a small quick. So I have one of my guys print out. He's got a buddy at NASA. So I have this on my wall. And it says, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a printout. It's a 3D.
Oh, one small step. Yeah. That's cool.
Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
This is what it is. It just takes one small step to keep going, right?
That's it.
Neil Armstrong.
So
that's cool.
All it takes, Adrian, to keep this rolling. So
Neil Armstrong, Lance Armstrong rode
bicycle. I'm sorry. What did I say? Did I say Lance?
Yeah, bicycle rider.
Oh my God. What a faux pas there.
That's awesome. Very cool. Anything else there, Adrian? What else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Trent, for hosting and
Oh, always.
keeping
Yep.
this going.
We'll keep it going. I love it. Okay, so we'll do a part 2 of this. We may not do because Rodney's gonna be on vacation, so maybe we'll do something in Hexagon Live is June 13th. So what about maybe June 20th? We'll push it like 6 weeks or so.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We'll chat about it, but
you got it.
we don't want to miss Rodney while he's hanging out in the Zion Desert.
How about that?
That's right.
Good to see everybody and
Awesome.
and meet the new people.
Hey, Christopher, before you jump off, are you under Moorburg?
No, I'm
Okay.
headquarters.
You're what?
Headquarters,
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
or the old Washington office, or however you
Okay.
say.
Gotcha.
So
been trying
you
to get a hold of
know, who's your boss down there?
Dominican Van Colton.
Yep. I'm sure you know that name, Rob. You should know that name.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the guy that I was thinking of from who he was in Sacramento working for Moorburg and went down to Phoenix.
Yeah, Jerry Davis was there.
Jerry Davis, there you go.
Yeah, and now we've been trying to get a hold of Moorburg to get a mailing address to send him his past president's gifts, but I'll have to shoot him a text and get his address. But I just didn't know.
If not, yeah, get a hold of me and I can have you
Okay.
sent to the office.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, everybody.
All right, thanks a lot.
Have a good
Thank
night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Nice to see
Adrian.
you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.